Well, folks, welcome back to another Deep Dive, The Deep Dive. The only show brave enough to go through all the muck and the mire out there and bring you the real story.
The muck and the mire.
Yeah, I'm your host, Andy Analog, and with me, as always, is the insightful Betty Betamax.
Hi, everybody.
And today we're tackling a story that's really got folks riled up, and for good reason, I think. It's about Elon Musk and this kind of love letter he wrote to the AfD party in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a stack of news articles and analyses here. And let me tell you, the implications of all this are bigger than a big tech CEO's ego.
Definitely bigger than that. What's really interesting to me is that this goes beyond just one man or one election. I think it's a symptom of a much larger issue that we're seeing right now.
Okay.
The growing influence of these so-called tech geniuses who think they can just engineer society like it's some kind of algorithm.
You hit the nail on the head there, Betty. It's like these Silicon Valley types think they can just, upload their ideas to the world and call it progress. But they forget about the real people.
Yes.
The backbone of this country. The folks who work hard and just want to live their lives without some algorithm dictating their every move.
Yeah, it's like they think they can just, optimize humans the same way they optimize their code. It just doesn't work that way.
It's dehumanizing, isn't it?
Totally. And that's what makes this whole Elon Musk situation so unsettling.
Right.
He's not just, expressing an opinion here. He's using his platform, his billions, and his control over who knows what algorithms to try and shape the political landscape of another country. So, does that sound like a responsible citizen to you, or does that sound like someone who's trying to play puppet master on the war stage?
You're right. It's not just a casual tweet. This is a guy who can literally change what millions of people see and think.
Absolutely.
He's got more followers than some countries have citizens.
I know, it's crazy.
And now he's throwing his weight behind this party that, well, let's just say they've got some ideas that would make our founding fathers spin in their graves.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to dig a little deeper, Andy.
Okay.
Who exactly are these AfD folks, and what are they selling?
Right.
They call themselves the alternative for Germany, but the only alternative I see is going back to some pretty dark chapters in history. They're anti-immigrant. They want to dismantle the European Union.
Wow.
And some of their members are even being investigated by German law enforcement. Does that sound like the kind of group we should be cheering for?
No, not at all. Well, hold on a minute. Let's back up a bit here.
Right.
For the folks out there who might not be following every twist and turn of European politics,
Yeah.
what exactly did Musk do that's got everybody so riled up?
Well, he went on his platform, that little thing called X that used to be Twitter.
Right.
And he basically declared that only the AfD can save Germany. So imagine if some foreign billionaire came over here and decided to endorse, some radical party in the good old US of A right before an election.
Yeah.
I don't think people would be too happy about that.
Not at all.
No.
You're right. There'd be a national uproar. People would be screaming about foreign interference.
Exactly.
And rightfully so.
Right. And here's the thing, Andy. This isn't just some random endorsement. This is a calculated move. Remember, Elon's a close buddy of Donald Trump.
He is.
He even advised him during his campaigns.
Right.
And we all remember how the mainstream media treated Trump. So is it really that surprising that Musk is throwing his support behind a party that's being labeled far-right by the same folks who call Trump every name in the book?
It's all connected, isn't it?
It's all connected. It's like a big global game of chess that these tech elites are playing.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that the real power lies with the people, the hardworking folks who built this country, the silent majority that's getting tired of being silenced.
All right, Betty, we're not going to let some billionaire with a God complex dictate our future. We, the people, still have a voice, and we're going to make sure it's heard.
That's right.
But before we go all revolutionary on them, let's break this down a little further.
Okay.
Why is this endorsement such a big deal? Even if we don't like the AfD, can a guy just, express his opinion, even if it's a little off-kilter?
Well, that's where things get really tricky, Andy, because we're not talking about some guy shouting his opinions on a street corner here.
Right.
We're talking about a man with an unprecedented level of influence. A digital kingmaker, if you will.
Wow.
He controls the algorithms that decide what millions of people see every day. He can amplify voices he agrees with and bury those he doesn't like. So does that sound like a fair fight to you?
No, it sounds like a rigged game. And frankly, it's downright un-American. It goes against everything our country stands for. Freedom of speech, fair elections, and the right to think for ourselves. It's like these tech giants think they can just rewrite the rules of the game whenever they please. They do, Andy, and that's why this situation is so alarming. It's not just about Germany. It's about the future of democracy itself. If we allow these unelected tech elites to manipulate elections and control the flow of information, what's to stop them from doing the same thing here in our own backyard?
You've got a point there, Betty. This isn't just some far-off European squabble. This is a threat to our way of life.
It is.
It's time for the silent majority to wake up and realize what's at stake.
Absolutely, Andy. We need to stand up and say enough is enough. We're not going to let these tech overlords turn us into mindless drones. We're going to fight for our values, for our freedom, and for the future of our nation.
You know, Betty, you always have a way of cutting through the noise and getting to the heart of the matter.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
But before we go all Patrick Henry on them,
Okay.
let's take a step back and look at the specifics of this situation.
All right.
What exactly are the potential consequences of Musk's little endorsement? What could this mean for Germany, for Europe, and for the world?
Well, Andy, that's a question that's keeping a lot of folks up at night.
I bet.
And for good reason. Because the truth is, we're in uncharted territory here. We've never seen this level of interference from a tech billionaire before, and the potential fallout is anyone's guess.
It's enough to make a fella reach for the good old AM radio and tune out the digital world altogether.
I hear you, Andy, but unfortunately we can't just bury our heads in the sand.
Right.
We need to understand what we're up against so we can fight back.
You're right, Betty, knowledge is power. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty. What exactly could this mean for Germany and the upcoming elections? Are we talking about a complete upheaval, or is this just a lot of hype over nothing?
Well, Andy, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And honestly, nobody has a crystal ball.
Right.
But here's what we do know. Musk's got a massive platform, and he's not afraid to use it. His endorsement could very well sway undecided voters. Folks who are already feeling disillusioned with the status quo and looking for an alternative, even if it's a radical one.
So it's like giving a loudspeaker to someone who's already shouting from the rooftops.
Exactly. And let's not forget, Andy, that the AfD isn't just some fringe group anymore. They've been steadily gaining ground in the polls, tapping into that same vein of populism that we've seen in other parts of the world.
Right.
They've got a real shot at gaining even more power. And that's a prospect that should concern anyone who values stability tolerance and the principles of democracy.
You're painting a pretty bleak picture, Betty. But isn't there a chance this whole thing could backfire? I mean, couldn't all this attention actually hurt the AfD? Maybe folks will see this for what it is, you know, a billionaire trying to manipulate an election, and they'll reject their message outright.
That's certainly a possibility, Andy. There's been a lot of backlash against Musk's endorsement, both in Germany and internationally. People are calling him out for meddling in another country's affairs, for promoting a party with extremist views.
So it's a gamble, huh?
It is.
Musk's putting his reputation on the line, and the AfD is risking alienating moderate voters.
Precisely. It's a high-stakes game of political poker, and the stakes are even higher than just one election. This is about the future of Germany, the future of Europe, and maybe even the future of the world as we know it.
Well, folks, it sounds like we're in for a wild ride. Who knows what twists and turns this story will take. But one thing's for sure, we'll be here to break it all down for you, cutting through the noise and getting to the heart of the matter. But before we go full conspiracy theorist on you, let's take a step back and consider the bigger picture. What does this whole situation tell us about the state of our world, about the influence of technology, and about the responsibility that comes with power?
It's a real head-scratcher, Andy. On the one hand, you've got these tech titans preaching about innovation and progress, about connecting the world and solving all our problems with their fancy gadgets. But then they turn around and use their power to meddle in elections and support folks who seem to want to take us back to the Stone Age.
It's enough to make you wonder if these Silicon Valley types are living in the same reality as the rest of us. They're so busy chasing the next big thing, the next billion-dollar idea, that they've lost touch with the values that matter. Hard work, community faith, good old-fashioned common sense.
You hit the nail on the head there, Andy. It's like they've built their own little world out there in Silicon Valley, a world of self-driving cars and virtual reality and artificial intelligence that's supposed to make our lives easier. But all it seems to be doing is creating more division, more isolation, more problems that nobody asked for.
You know, it's funny you mention artificial intelligence, Betty. because that seems to be at the heart of a lot of folks' anxieties these days.
Mm.
It's like something out of a science fiction movie, machines taking over robots, stealing our jobs, algorithms controlling our thoughts. And now you've got these tech CEOs like Musk who are practically worshiping at the altar of AI, promising us a future where everything is automated and we can all just sit back and relax while the machines do all the work.
But here's the thing, Andy, who's going to benefit from all this automation? Is it going to be the average Joe, the working man who's trying to put food on the table? Or is it going to be the tech elites who are already swimming in cash and looking for new ways to consolidate their power?
You're making me think of those old-time factory towns where everyone worked hard, built things with their own two hands, and had a sense of pride in their craft. Now those factories are shuttered, jobs are shipped overseas, and folks are left wondering what happened to the American dream.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of future we want, a world where we're all just cogs in some giant machine controlled by algorithms and beholden to the tech overlords?
It's a slippery slope, Andy, and we need to be careful not to fall for the siren song of progress at any cost. Sure, technology has its place, but it should be a tool that serves humanity, not the other way around. We need to remember that real progress isn't about gadgets or algorithms. It's about building a better society, one that's based on strong families, strong communities, and strong values.
Amen to that, Betty. But let's be honest. It's hard to fight back against this tide of technology when it seems like every aspect of our lives is being digitized. From the way we shop, to the way we communicate, to the way our kids are being educated, it's all moving online, all being controlled by algorithms that we don't understand and can't control.
That's why it's more important than ever to hold these tech companies accountable, Andy. We need to demand transparency, we need to push for regulations, and we need to make sure that our elected officials are putting the interests of the people ahead of the profits of Silicon Valley.
You know, Betty, it's ironic. These tech giants love to talk about empowering the individual, about giving everyone a voice. But the reality is they're creating a world where only their voices matter, where their algorithms decide what we see, what we think, and even how we vote.
It's a dangerous game they're playing, Andy, and it's time we called them out on it. We need to remind them that they're not above the law, that they have a responsibility to use their power for good, and that the future of our society depends on it.
Well said, Betty. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the specifics of Musk's endorsement to the broader anxieties about technology and the future of our society. But I think the key takeaway here is that we can't just sit back and let these tech giants run roughshod over our values and our way of life. We need to get involved, we need to speak up, and we need to demand better from the folks who are shaping the world we live in.
That's right, Andy. We, the people, still have the power to make a difference. But it's going to take courage, it's going to take commitment, and it's going to take a whole lot of common sense to steer this ship back on course.
Well, folks, that's about all the time we have for today. We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought and maybe even a little fire in your belly to stand up for what you believe in. Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together. So let's get out there and make sure it's a future worth fighting for. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive.